Good morning and welcome to our today's class, our audience. Join us today as we discuss finding quadratic equations using given roots. There are lots of questions that we have from JAM, we have from WIRE, we have from NECO, and we have from screen examinations that we are going to use to discuss this topic this morning. Finding quadratic equations from given roots. Without wasting much of our time, we are going to define roots of some quadratic equations now and be able to generate the equations now from those roots. First and foremost, let us consider this one. Number one. Number one. It says let alpha and beta be the roots. Be the what? The roots. Find the equation. Find the equation. Very simple. Let alpha and beta be the roots of a quadratic equation. We are to find the what? The equation. It is very simple. The format or the formula we are going to use is this. If you are to find it either in terms of x or in terms of y, then you'll be able to know the kind of expression you are going to define to help you solve that problem. For instance, I want to go and find the quadratic equation in terms of what? Of x. Another person can choose to find it in terms of what? Y. They will still arrive at the same conclusion. But I want to go and find it now in terms of what? Of x. Then I'm going to use this expression. Permit me to define this board. Permit me to define the board this way. Then I am now going to say the expression as a word of solution. As a word of solution, I am going to use this. This is x minus root, close it, open again, x minus root, close it. This is equals to 0. The moment you use this equation I've given here, you arrive at the expected equation in terms of what? Alpha and beta. See what I wrote here? This is root and this is root. And I've been given the root to be alpha and beta. So what I'm going to do here is, once I come to this root, I'll put in what? Alpha. And once I come to this root, I'll put in what? Beta. Then I'll expand this what? Equation, and then be able now, or expand this bracket now, and be able to arrive at the what? At the equation. So what I have now becomes, I'll open here. Here is my what? X minus. My root here is what? Alpha. I'll close it, open again. Here is my what? My x minus. Here is my root, and now my root is what? Is beta. I'll close it. This becomes what? 0. What is left for you to do here is to open the bracket the brackets at the left hand side of the equation, where you are going to use the first term from the first bracket to multiply the two terms in the second bracket, and thereafter come back to pick the remaining what? Term in the first bracket to equally multiply the two terms in the second bracket. So let us do the multiplications together. X times x will give me x raised to power 2. X raised to power 2. The sign here is what? Minus. You put the minus. X times what? Beta will give me what? Beta what? X. I am done using this x to multiply these two terms in this bracket. So I come back now to pick the second term. The sign here is what? Minus. So I have what? Alpha times x will give me what? Alpha x. The sign here is minus and the sign here is minus. Minus times minus will give me what? Plus. Alpha times beta will give me what? Alpha beta. This equals what? 0. So we now look at how we can factorize this to look at a quadratic equation. The only thing that we have signaling to us that is a quadratic equation is because we have seen that the highest part of the unknown, which is x, is what? Is 2. So it is a quadratic equation. I hope you know that I have an x here and I have an x here. So I can factorize these two terms inside this place by saying that this is x raised to the power what 2 minus, I'll open a bracket. Here is my what? My beta plus what? Here is my what? Alpha. Close the bracket. Here is x. I'll write x. Plus this what? Alpha beta. This equals what? 0. This equation and this equation are the same thing, because if I want to return to this one, I will now say, here is my what? My x. When this x multiply this, you have alpha x, and look at minus, you arrive at this. Minus times plus will give you minus. When this x multiply by this alpha, then you have alpha x plus alpha beta, which is this. So this and this are the same thing. And at this point in time, you say you have successfully arrived at the quadratic equation whose roots are alpha and beta. And then we decided to take up this problem because there are places that we want to apply them, so that we can discuss the relationship which one can understand from this answer. So as we are solving subsequent questions now, we will be applying this principle now and arriving at the answer in the quickest moment. So let us now come and examine this equation we have here. If we want to examine this equation we have here now, or what we call remarks, I want to make remarks about this. This is what we call remarks. Let us make remarks about this. By the remark, I mean what I have here is x raised to power 2. I'll write x raised to power 2. Here is my minus, here is my minus. The two roots of the quadratic equation are alpha and beta. And what I have here inside this bracket is what? Beta plus what? Alpha. Which of course is the same thing as alpha plus what? Beta. So what is inside this bracket now is what we call sum of the roots. What is inside this bracket? So I will now open the bracket now and write sum of the roots. Sum of what? Roots. I will close the bracket. What do I have here? What I have here is what is x. So I will now write what? X. The sign I have here is what? Is plus. Of course, you know that alpha beta means that alpha is multiplying what? Beta, which of course we call product of the what? Of the roots. So we have what? Product. Permit me to write PR as the what? Product of roots. So this is equals what? 0. So at every point in time that we are given roots of quadratic equation and we are told to find the equation, we get a sum, we use this expression. We get a sum of the roots, put it inside here. And then we get the product of the what? The roots, and put it inside here. Equate it to 0, and you must have arrived at what? At the answer. Watch us now solve this another problem now, so that we see how we are going to apply this. Let me call this one equation 2. Let me now call this one, I want to solve equation 2. The equation 2 says, or question 2. Question 2 says, when x equals what? 2 or 3, find the equation. Find the equation. That's just the only question that we are asked to solve there. It says when x equals 2 or 3, find the equation. You see, in this question which I lifted from NACO, 1993, you find out that they did not call the particular equation you are to find a name. But what will guide you is this. It is only a quadratic equation that have two possible roots, 2 or 3. So by that, you should of course know that we are discussing quadratic roots equation. If it were a linear equation, it's only one possible value of what? Of x. But once it is quadratic now, of course, it becomes two possible values of what? Of x. So by that, I am going to return back to what I have done here with you. So I'll just quickly come here and write solution. I'll come here and write what? Solution with you. Solution. What we have established here is what? X raised to power 2. So I have x raised to power 2. The sign I have here is minus, open a bracket. What I have inside is sum of roots. So I'll write sum of roots. Close it. The sign I have here is what? I have what? X plus product of roots. This equals what? 0. Please permit me to write this P as product of what? Of roots. Then we go ahead. What are the roots? The roots are what? 2 and 3. So the sum of roots equals 2 plus 3. And 2 plus 3 is what? 2 plus 3 will give you what? 5. The next thing we have is product of roots. So you have product of roots. Product of roots equals. Here is 2 times 3, which of course is equals to what? 6. So what you and I are going to do is to return back to this expression, or this equation rather. Anywhere we see sum of roots, we put in what? 5. And anywhere we see product of root, we put in what? 6. So therefore, what am I going to have here? I'll say therefore, I have x raised to power 2, which is what is here. The sign here is what? Is minus. You open a bracket. The sum of the roots is now what? 5. You now write what? 5. Close the bracket. What you have outside here is what? Is x plus. This P stands for product of the roots. And the product of the roots is already given as what? 6. This is equals to what? 0. So you return back and say, this is x raised to power what? 2 minus. 5 times x will give you what? 5x. 5 times x will give you what? 5 what? X. The sign here is what? Plus. Here is what? 6. This equals what? 0. And with this, you have arrived at the quadratic equation whose roots are given as 2 and 3. You see, with this, it is very, very easy to handle this kind of problems. We have a lot of questions that are coming from JAMB and WAEC, and we call your patience as we decide this morning to go a long way solving those problems with you. The only thing we ask you to remember for us is this expression. X raised to power 2 minus sum of roots in brackets multiplied by x plus product of the roots equals to 0. With this, you can solve many problems now around this area. So permit me to clean the board and then call other questions up. Question number 3, which we have to solve with you. Question number 3, they say when x, that is number 3, when x equals minus 3 or 2. When x equals minus 3 or 2, we are to find the quadratic equation that has the roots minus 3 or 2. So as a way of solution, as usual, we do something like this. We say this solution is the solution. Okay? Remember, we already have had derived the equation with which to do this kind of problem. And that thing we derived with you is, we had x raised to power 2 minus, open a bracket, sum of roots, close it, plus. That is now you put what? X plus product of roots. Product of roots equals what? 0. This is what you and I earlier had arrived at. So we now come here and say, therefore, sum of roots equals minus 3 plus 2. Minus 3 plus 2 is what? Is minus 1. Because you are owing 3, but you have got 2. You pay with the 2, you'll be owing 1. So this is equals what? Minus what? 1. So product of roots equals, here is minus 3 times what? 2. Of course, minus 3 times 2 give us what? Minus what? 6. So what we are going to do is to return back to this equation. Anywhere we see sum of roots, we put -1 because that was what we got here. And anywhere we see product of roots, we put what? -6. And in that case, that equation is going to be, what I have here is what? X raised to power 2. The sign I have here is what? Minus. You open a bracket. Sum of roots already gave me -1. -1, you close it. Here is what? X. Here is what? Plus. Product of roots already gave us -6. So we have minus what? 6. This equals what? 0. So we return back. Here we have what? X raised to power what? 2. Here is what? Minus. This minus here. -1 times x will give me what? -1x. Then plus minus in mathematics means what? Minus. So I have minus what? 6. This equals what? 0. Now, minus minus in mathematics means what? Plus. So what you have here becomes what? X raised to power 2 plus what? 1 what? X plus what? 6 equals what? 0. And it is important for us to note that 1x is the same thing as x in mathematics. In fact, it's the same thing everywhere. 1x plus what? Plus x. So what you're now going to see is x raised to power 2 plus. Instead of writing 1x, you simply write what? X. Plus what? This what? 6. This equals what? 0. Please, I said earlier that plus minus is minus here. So that's what here, where it should be minus. Sorry for that. And here should be minus. So with this, you have arrived at the answer that of the quadratic equation whose roots are -3 or 2. You see how these things could be solved, and they will not be so challenging. Please still give us your audience. We still have many questions that we want to solve with you. Our intention is to solve a lot of questions around this area that can make you write exams on them. Okay, so permit me to clean this thing. As I'm cleaning this, let me leave this one permanent on the board. Let me clean the solution. We take another question here. Use this idea to solve it. So another number says when x equals what? 1 minus root 13 or 1 plus root what? 13. That's the question that we are equally asked what to solve. Now we should find the quadratic equation whose roots are 1 minus root 13 or 1 plus root 13. So in that case, we are going to use what we have on the board. So we now come here and say sum of roots equals. We want to sum this, which is 1 minus root what? 13 plus 1 plus root what? 13. Here there is 1, here there is 1. So 1 plus 1 will equally give me what? This becomes what? 2. Here there is minus root 13 plus root 13. So it's as if you are owing somebody root 13 or you have got root 13. So the moment you pay up, you have nothing left. So it is as good as that they have cancelled off. So we are left with what? 2. Then when we now come for product of the roots, this equals. Product means this to multiply this, and in that case I have 1 minus root 13 minus root what? 13, close the bracket, open again. Here is 1 plus what? Root what? 13. That's what we mean by that product. And in that case, you are now going to multiply out. And remember the principles of the principle of multiplying out this kind of brackets. You use the first entry in the first equation, in first bracket, to multiply the two terms inside the second bracket, and equally come back to take the remaining term in the first bracket to multiply the two terms in the second bracket. So we pick this one. 1 times 1 will give me what? 1. 1 times 1 will give me what? 1. The sign here is what? Plus. 1 times root 13 will give me what? Root what? 13. The sign here is minus. The sign, so I will now have minus root 13 times 1 will equally give me minus what? Root what? 13. Hmm? Here is what? Minus. Here is what? Plus. Minus times plus will give you what? Minus. Root 13 times root 13 is 13. Root 2 times root 2 is 2. Root this times root that times root of itself is that particular number. So if you say root 2 times root what? 2, the answer is 2. Root 3 times root what? 3, the answer is what? 3 down the what? The line. So which means my root 13 times root 13 will give me what? 13. Give me 13. So when we come here now, this 1 doesn't contain root, this 13 doesn't contain root. So we now say 1 minus 13 will give me minus what? 12. Minus 12. So this one is as if to say you are saying you have root 13, but you are owing somebody root 13. So the moment you pay that person, you have nothing left. So it's as good as they have cancelled off. So meaning that the product is minus what? 12, and then the sum is what? Is 2. Then you now return back here. Anywhere you see sum of roots, you put 2. Anywhere you see product of the root, you put minus 12. And in that case, it becomes x raised to power 2. Then, let me check this marker that is ink. You see the one that is inking well. So I have, here is what? Minus. Then you open what? Your brackets. Sum of roots is already what? 2. You put your 2 there. Close up the brackets. Here you have what? X. Then the sign here is what? Plus. You put plus. So product of the roots is already minus 12. So you have minus what? 12 is equals what? 0. This marker is not okay by me. So you now come here. So here becomes what? X raised to power 2. Here is my minus. So you have your minus. 2 times x will give you what? 2 what? X. Plus minus in mass means what? Minus what? 12 is equals what? 0. And with this, you have arrived at the quadratic equation whose roots are given as this, which of course is very, very simple. You understand? So this is how to go about this kind of a problem. Permit us now to call another questions here whose roots appear in form of fractions. The one we earlier had solved were in the form of either a whole number or either square roots, or either roots. So this time around, let us call up a question that contains fractions. So I'll equally clean here, and then we put it and solve. That question says, and I write, the question says, and I write, when x equals what? Minus 3 over 4 and 4 over 3. So we are to look at a situation where the roots of the quadratic equation are minus 3 over 4 and 4 over 3, and generate that equation. We are still going to use this same principle we have on the board. So by that, we are going to say sum of the roots now. Sum of roots equals, here is minus what? 3 over 4 plus 4 over 3. This implies, we ask ourselves, what is the LCM of 4 and 3? The LCM of 4 and 3 is what? 12. So we now have a line here and write what? 12. Then we say 12 divided by 4 is 3. 3 times minus 3 will give me minus 9. I have minus what? 9. The sign here is what? Plus. 4 divided by 3. 12 divided by 3 will give me 4. 4 times 4 will give you what? 16. So, and this thing becomes. In this case, you are owing 9, but you have got what? 16. So if you pay that 9, you'll be having in your pocket left 7. So you have 7 all over what? 12. So the sum has given us 7 over 12. So we now come for product. You see product of roots, equals. Here is minus 3 over 4 times 4 over 12. So 4 will cancel for here 1 and cancel this for 1. 3 will cancel itself 1, cancel this 3 here 1. But here is minus. So the whole thing will give us minus what? 1. So the product has given you minus what? 1. What do you do at this point in time? You return back here. Wherever place you see sum, you put in 7 over what? 12. And wherever place you see product, you put in what? Minus 1. So what I have here becomes, I will return back here. This is my x raised to power 2 minus, open a bracket. Here is the sum which already has become what? 7 over what? 12. Close it by what? X. The sign here is what? Plus. What you have as the product is what? Minus what? 1. Is equals to what? 0. At this point in time now, you now write it this way. This is x raised to power 2 minus. You have this is 7 all over what? 12 what? X. So you now come here, plus minus is what? Let me write this in well to avoid confusion. This is 7x all over what? 12. Then here is what? Plus minus, which is minus 1, is equals to what? 0. You see, one of the terms in the quadratic equation contains what? A fraction. So you can decide now to remove that fraction now by using 12 to multiply all the terms here. And if you are using 12 to multiply the term, that 12 will multiply x raised to power 2. Multiply this one in order to cancel that 12. Multiply this down the line. And in that case, what you are going to have here becomes what? 12 x raised to power 2 minus. When you use 12 to multiply this 12 will cancel that 12. You are left with what? 7 what? X minus. You are equally using 12 to multiply this one, which becomes what? 12. When you use 12 to multiply 0, it will still return what? 0. And this becomes what? The quadratic equation whose roots are given as a minus 3 over 4 and 4 over 3. Thank you very much for your audience. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channels and then follow our classes, especially the students of JAM, the students of WAEC, NECO, NAPTEB, JUPEB, and then screening examinations. Thank you very much. The channel is devoted for students in these categories and then first and second year students of some universities and even beyond in some cases. Because what we look at as limited to these people might go beyond that in the reality. Thank you very much and stay tuned.